This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez, and we're going to link to Juan's column in the New York Daily News today, having just come last night from a big gathering in Queens, New York, of hundreds of people. The headline, Obama's immigration actions are bittersweet for some. Juan?
Well, on Thursday, people from around the world joined a day of action to demand justice for the 43 Mexican students from Ayotzinapa Teachers College who have been missing since September following a police attack. Earlier this month, authorities said 2 suspects had confessed to killing the students and incinerating their bodies, leading investigators to badly burned remains, which are still being analyzed. Outrage erupted across Mexico Thursday as caravans of the missing students, families, and classmates converged in Mexico City. Tens of thousands rallied in the main square, and a 30-foot effigy of President Enrique Peña Nieto was set on fire. Here in New York, protesters gathered in front of the Mexican consulate. These are some of their voices, beginning with Israel Galindo. It took him about 2 minutes to read the list of cities and countries participating in the day of action.
Denver, Colorado, Bakersfield, California, El Paso, Philadelphia, Atlanta, Phoenix, Illinois, San Marcos, etc.
The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated.
I am from the community that is now bleeding. I am outraged. I came to this country looking for the American dream, and I left my roots and I left my family behind. It's difficult to live in this country, calling every night to see if we're going to find our relatives alive. I am the daughter of a rural teacher, a teacher who taught some of the young people who are now disappeared. She prays every night that they find them, because she does not believe that those ashes belong to that which she sowed, to the people she taught since they were small how to write, how to fight. Ayotzinapa is not the beginning of the violence in Mexico. It has to be the end.
That was Erica Velasquez, who's from the Mexican state of Guerrero, speaking Thursday night here in New York City. The protesters marched from Grand Central Station, where some staged a die-in. For more, we're joined by one of the organizers of the day's events, Juan Carlos Ruiz, a priest and community activist who serves as immigration liaison with the Episcopal Diocese of Long Island. He's also one of the co-founders of the new sanctuary movement, which is supporting immigrants across the country who've taken refuge in churches to avoid deportation. Very interesting timing of these mass protests in Mexico and the United States, not related to President Obama speaking last night, but in fact it all converges on the same day.
It's basically something that is related. I know it cannot seem, but we organizers here in New York City, we keep saying that if Mexico does not have a solution, we'll have continuing waves of new immigrants coming to this to our shores. There has been a dirty war being played on Mexico, sponsored by U.S. dollars. It's $2.1 billion so far, and this is negatively impacting our communities, our people. The bullets that we may find in the students, that we find in our peasants and our indigenous people, are labeled U.S. made. So this is a murder made in U.S. And we need to denounce that. If there is no solution to Mexico, we will be accepting or being forced to accept new waves of immigrants coming from Mexico. I mean, these are our neighbors from the south.
Well, and clearly about 2/3 of all the undocumented in the country come from Mexico. So your point is well taken in terms of the enormous role that Mexico plays in terms of American society and in terms of the immigrant population, Latino immigrant population. But I wanted to ask you that there's been some indication that the Obama administration has especially pressed forward on this, that the migration from Mexico has reduced, has tamped down in recent years. But that doesn't mean necessarily that those who are coming are not fleeing, as you say, the political troubles and the repression that they're facing.
Yes, and you have to look at this. Mexico has staged this image that Mexico has become a secure, peaceful country, And this is the image that is being projected to the exterior. Well, the Mexican people know that our institutions are falling apart. There is a grabbing of land by multinationals, by corporations, that is displacing massive amounts of people. Mexico has the most NAFTA treaties signed. With this new signed reform, energy reform, we are expecting more people being kind of abandoned by the institution, being forced out of their homes.
Among the marchers at Thursday's rally here in New York, the march that you led, was Lucero Acosta, who came to the U.S. this year from Morelos, Mexico, seeking political asylum.
8 months ago, I came asking for political asylum because I can talk too much about my case, but I couldn't stay anymore in Mexico because of the violence and corruption. It's a nightmare living in Mexico now. There is violence everywhere. People is dying everywhere. Like, Mexico is bleeding. We're receiving like calls from people asking for money, and if we don't give them money, they tell us that we're gonna get killed. Some of the women are being raped, and the government doesn't do anything about it. Like, if we go and tell the police, they will say, oh, if you don't have any proofs, we can help you. So it's very difficult to live in a country where there is no justice, nobody can help us.
That was Lucero Acosta, who went on to say that she will not be able to apply under the new, she won't benefit from Obama's executive action because she came to the United States too recently, but she fears for her life if she's sent back to Mexico. Speaking of which, we turn now to the issue of the new sanctuary movement. In Philadelphia, an undocumented immigrant from Honduras, who's a mother of 2 U.S. citizens, entered a church this week to take sanctuary from her final deportation order.
My name is Angela Navarro, mother of 2 citizens and spouse of a citizen, leader of my parish, worker, and I am tired of living in the fear and darkness of being deported. I am taking sanctuary, which means I will live in a church without leaving behind my life, my home, my work, to fight so the government withdraws my deportation order. We demand that President Obama keep his promise and end all deportations.
Immigrants with U.S. citizen children like Angela Navarro will benefit from Obama's executive order, but it remains unclear if those who have final deportation orders already issued against them will be spared. So far, for now, Navarro remains in the church. Juan Carlos Ruiz, can you talk about what's happening? It's in Denver, Philadelphia, people taking refuge in churches, like the old sanctuary movement.
Yeah, we basically see that most of our people, the majority of our people, are not going to find any relief. It is a hopeful sign, this executive order, but it's fragile. We do not know what's going to happen after the new administration takes on. So what we've been doing in terms of around the nation is that our faith communities are organizing to really push the envelope, to really allow the people who are suffering from this unjust law to tell their story, to humanize. Right now, I think there is a climate, a culture bent on destruction, bent on separating our families, bent on enforcing a law that is still very much is speeding up the people from our communities.
And what's been the response from the hierarchies of some of the major churches to the sanctuary movement of individual churches?
Justice, the sense of justice and outrage is felt. But I am afraid that many times we as churches, as religious institutions, we fall into the trap of we have a great infrastructure of servicing, and we do not do enough in terms of seeking the justice that is needed. And I am afraid that that infrastructure is riddled with the enforcement punitive aspect of our laws that do not provide any relief, any human decency, any dignity for the people that we are serving.
Juan Carlos Ruiz, I want to thank you for being with us, priest and co-founder of the New Sanctuary Movement, immigration liaison with the Episcopal Diocese of Long Island. This is Democracy Now!